Hello, everybody. Randy Patterson here again with Boomerocity. As I've said many times before here, I love turning people on to acts that they may not have heard of, and that is especially the case with the Jorgensens. They're up in the Minneapolis area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I've only been up there once, but great city, love going there. But man, this couple, the Jorgensens and their band, really put together some great music, and they've been around for quite a while, and they go way back into the music and have a very good following up there. And when I got their CD, I immediately fell in love with this album and this group. Americana Soul is a wonderful album to add to your collection, and also the Jorgensens are a great band to begin following and become a fan of because they are very good. You listen to the guitar playing for both of them, the vocals for both of them, and how they harmonize. It's phenomenal. Trust me on that. And any of you venue owners out there or people who book acts for venues or other events, please consider the Jorgensens because they are worth your time to consider and worth the money to invest in to have them play at your functions or at your venues. They're phenomenal. Trust me on that. So without any further ado, here is what is my first interview with what I hope is going to be many more interviews to come with Kurt and Brianna Jorgensen, the Jorgensens. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. Well, thank you for welcoming me to your living room. I love it.
Well, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you don't mind, but I stole a few of your record covers, and
we see that.
It's called It's called Contemporary Jorgensen, and it's the newest rage. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys taking the time, and to kind of get into it, I read a lot of the background on you guys, but I'd love for you to tell the viewers when this post the story about you guys. I love the story, how you met and how you got married and all that kind of stuff, but also about your music and influences and things like that.
Yeah. Do you want me to start?
You can start.
I was doing my first solo album ever, and both Kurt and I are from an area of Minnesota, the St. Croix River Valley. And Kurt was gigging out there a lot. And so I went to one of your shows, and my mom was a big fan of Kurt. And I said, well, it still is.
Not all the time.
Marriage didn't diminish that, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, we got connected that way. And Kurt I was performing with just a bunch of bands all over the place. And he just said, well, why aren't you doing your own music if you write music? I was like, well, I don't know how. And he's like, oh, well. So anyway, we started collaborating and working together, and Kurt produced, mixed, and engineered my first solo album. And that's how we met and started working together. And, Kurt had his own band going on, and just through time, things got merged. We started working together, and it was a really neat sound for both of us. It was a different sound than I was solo, and it was a different sound than Kurt was solo. So when we meshed the two, it became really unique.
It took a little while, I think, because I had been doing what I was doing for decades, literally, with my band, and we were locally successful. And so when we kind of put stuff together, we kind of had to find a sound. And the first recording that we did together was almost kind of a demo, a little thing that we released locally, and it wasn't quite there yet. It's good, but it wasn't quite there yet. And on the next one, the Lexington Stretch, we really were like, okay, this is where we're at. And now it's just, it's kind of what we do. And I think the big thing was that we just allowed us to be us. Mm-hmm. We didn't try to be anything. We didn't try to sound like anybody. My influences are, Eric Clapton, Little Feat, the Allman Brothers, things like that. And so I think for me, I just do what I do naturally. And
I mean, I'm obsessed with all that music, but growing up, I grew up in the 90s, and a little girl listening to the radio station, it was like the era of female singer-songwriters. Yeah. It was just like, it was huge, and it captivated me. I loved it. And so that was I mean, when my dad's a big music lover and has a great music collection. He would bring home like Sarah McLachlan and Dido and, just like all these, Lucinda Williams, just all these things. And I just couldn't help but be obsessed with it. Like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be them, And so I think growing up with that, when you're just surrounded by it, and I mean, I just lay in my room and look at album covers and listen to music. And my parents would be like, "Do you want to hang out with your friends?" And I'd say, "No, I just want to lay here and listen to music." And they were kind of troubled by that. So you just naturally take on those influences without even realizing it, because that's all I knew. It's just the only thing I was
It's your
exposed
vocabulary.
to.
It's your vocabulary.
But then once I did started broadening my horizons and definitely listening to things that Kurt was listening to, and you get farther down the rabbit hole and you start to change. And the fun thing is we got to change together, and that was, and we came up with a sound, and it just works, and it's unique, and people seem to like it. So.
Well, I saw it in the press release that Carol sent me, and I was struck by it. And as I was listening to your music, I agree with it. And there was, it said that there was a tinge of, my words, not hers, but a tinge of like Delaney and Bonnie in there. And I mean, I'm a big Delaney and Bonnie fan. She was one of my early interviews I did for Boomerocity. And so I met her a few years before that. And I just, of course that all ties into Clapton and all that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think do you find that for you guys, I mean, you start off working together before you became a couple. Did becoming a couple make the harmonies better? I mean, it sounds like a weird question, but it seems like, I mean, I could see where there might be a better blend. You become more, harmonious vocally, perhaps, as you are harmonious in your relationship. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that what's interesting about that is, more than just, when you work together, you live together, we're parents together, all these things. Like Kurt and I spend an unusual amount of time together, more than most people. And when you're doing that, like, not only are you performing together, but you're in the studio, and then just around the house, like I listen to Kurt sing along with something. I think it's more you just like, I know exactly how Kurt's going to enunciate something or how he's going to approach something, and him vice versa. Same with me. I just think we know each other so well that our blend got so good really fast, because you're spending all that time together. And at first, of course, it's like a conscious thing. Like you want to match someone, you want to blend well. But as that fell away and it's just become more of a natural thing, it's actually gotten way better.
I think actually too, you get better singing together when you sing together a lot. There's no two ways about that. I do think that even more with writing, when we're writing songs together, we don't always write every song together, but some of them we do, about half of them we do off the last album. And when we write together, I feel like we don't really have to talk about things a lot, because we kind of already know the approach and the philosophy and just where we're coming from, So it's pretty easy, rather than when you try and write with somebody, a writing partner or a bandmate that's not also your life partner. You sort of have to explain the song as you're presenting it. Like, here's what I'm thinking, and I know this part's not that good. We'll get there on this one, and whatever. This lyric's kind of dumb, but you as you do this, you sort of apologize for things as you're writing together, and we just are sort of on another level with that, so we don't really need to do that, and that's pretty cool.
I think so. I think it comes out in the sound too, and I've watched several of your videos performing and such, and there's just what I think. I mean, obviously you're not the first husband and wife act, but I can say that you're among the most cohesive act that I've come across, and I just love how there's just that. I mean, it's almost like the DNA is blended vocally and such.
Thank you.
And I think it's really come out exceptionally well. Now, you guys both perform just acoustically together, as well as with a pretty good sized band, right? I mean,
8-piece band, yeah. And we do a ton of duo stuff, and that's kind of our bread and butter. It's certainly easier to travel with. But yeah, the 8-piece band, I mean, the band is so good, and literally every member is just great. We're really lucky.
Mm-hmm. Now, on this album, Americana Soul, I've loved it, listened to it several times, and tell me how that all came about. I'm going to guess that probably the pandemic had something to do with it. No?
Well, yeah. So the pandemic, we're at home with our then 3-year-old, right?
Yeah, he's 3
because he's 5 now, and we thought, well, what are we going to do? We got no gigs, so we started streaming live all the time. We were doing these like Friday nights on Facebook, and we would get like 900 to 1,500 people watching. It was really, it was kind of cool, actually. In some cases, we had more people watching our streaming shows than we would have in a normal show. I mean, in almost any case, actually.
It's just so bizarre, but cool.
And it was really cool, and a lot of people were seeing us for the first time, and we're down in our studio in the house, and we just were kind of ourselves. And so we thought, well, we need to make an acoustic album because people really like what we're doing. So we started in with this acoustic album, and then all of a sudden stuff starts lightening up a little bit, and we can kind of get together with the band, and we're like, nah, we'll save this acoustic album for later. We need to do this. I couldn't wait to play electric guitar again. And so the acoustic album got scrapped fast, and the band came in, and it just happened. It just came together fast. We'd worked on the acoustic album for about a year, and it really was kind of going slow, and because it was just us. And it's you want other musicians to add to it, and once the band came in, it really just was like boom.
I also think our last album was more of like a very specialized sound. Like we were spending a lot of time in New Orleans with the last one, and so we love that sound. We have horns in our band, so we really dug in and wanted to lean into that and capture that. And we are not a New Orleans type band, but we had that flavor on the last album, and it went really well, and people loved it. But people wanted an album that reflected what they see when they come see the band live, and we didn't have that yet.
Just be us being us, basically. Is
and
what
so, and along the
too.
way as well, this Americana Soul title has been just kind of blanketed upon us. And Kurt, for a number of years, people say, "What genre are you?" And it's hard to describe what you are when you're a melting pot. And so we just decided, like, what's the title of the album? What is it? And we're just like, it's Americana Soul. We're just going to blatantly say what we are, or whatever that is.
So a writer, Tom Surowitz, for the Reader in Minneapolis, called my music Americana Soul like 20 years ago. And so I just have always said that when people ask what it is.
How would you, aside from the approach to it, how would this album, in your opinion, differ in other ways? Are there other ways that it would differ from your other work, I guess is what I'm trying to say?
I think, from the production part, we really brought the band in more and had the band be a bigger part of it rather than like the two of us, and then we'll just have the kind of band come in and, add to it. Where this one, it's really, it's the band. I mean, we really worked together, and we recorded a lot of stuff at the same time.
A lot of songs didn't make it.
Some songs didn't make it. I mean,
through the process of collaborating and wondering what each other's ideas are, like there's some songs that just don't make it, or it might be on the next album because they didn't fit with this grouping or whatever that is. And that's the thing I think enjoyed about this album, is that it wasn't just Kurt and I wrote all the songs, but it wasn't just him and I, and it's fun. It's fun to have. And I think each of us I have such high regard and respect for every person in our band. They're just all fabulous musicians. And for me personally, out of all the bands I've played with, you play with great people along the way, but to have a grouping like this of 8 people who just can hold their own with anybody and do anything. We've seen them all perform in multiple things, and they're fantastic at whatever they do. And then they're in your band, and it's like you got to get on that and take advantage of that, because it's special, and you never know how long it will last.
Yeah, those things don't last forever. I mean, great players, sometimes you lose them. I've over the years lost a lot of good players to better situations, and people move on in life and things change.
Mhm.
But that's why we put the band on the album cover instead of just the two of us, because we really felt like this is the band. You know,
Right.
this is the band. So
Well, I know we're not supposed, or I learned early on that you don't ever ask an artist what their favorite song is, because it's like asking them to pick their favorite child, you know, and they tell us we're not supposed to do that, right? So, so what I
I think
have
we can
done, I
do
got a
that.
little smarter.
You can
and-
ask us.
throw the rules
I
out.
think we each have a different answer for that.
I gotta think of it.
I know what my answer is right now. And that my favorite song on the album right now is Dark Road.
I was good. That's mine. That is mine. I'm
it's-
surprised you said it, but that's mine.
It's mine because it's a song that Kurt and I lyrically wrote together. I liked the collaboration on it. I love the cellos on it. Like, it sounds so big. And then Andrew Suki and I got to do some really fun backup vocals that I loved. I love the tone of the guitars. It's just, the song has so much depth to it.
It
And I
does.
think it's a really unique sound. And that's why I like it so much. Like, that one's really fun.
How about you, Kurt?
Well, mine would be Miles for very different reasons. That's a song that I had no part in the writing of that song. Usually, not usually, but a lot of times, for sure on the last album, Brianna will be working on a song and I'll hear her playing it for a month or so. And I'm in the other room and first of all, I always think they're about me, but they generally aren't. As I'm listening to the song,
So we get
I'm
a
going-
counselor here. So
yeah. As I'm listening to the song, I'm going, all of a sudden I start going, oh wow. And every time it gets to that part, it needs this right there. And so then I'll go to her one day and go, you know, that song's pretty cool. But when you get to this part right here, try this. And I'll already have like the idea worked out. So it fits right in there. On this one, she just had the song and we recorded her playing it with her acoustic and singing it. And generally speaking, when the songs come in, there's a groove or a vibe. And this one didn't really have that. It was really the chords in the song. And so I really had to come up with
A feel.
a feel for
Like-
it with the drums and the bass and my guitar. And I blew this song up probably 3 or 4 times. And I thought, oh yeah, I got it now. And then I listened to it, go, that's
It's not
it.
right.
And then I, started to get this vibe with it. And I'm like, this is it. I got it. We're going this way. And the band came in and everybody, Brandon played such a great bass part. And I had this guitar riff and Brianna played a cool piano part. And then we had it. And so it was that one was really a major victory because I really liked the song, but it wasn't working. And I just kept going and going. So when it got to a point where it was working, it felt like a major victory. So I like that one. And it doesn't sound, when I listen to it and I take a step back from myself producing it, I go, yeah, it sounds like a band playing this. It doesn't sound like, it took a lot of time to put a song together that way.
yeah.
So I'm happy with that one.
So a little bit different approach to the same kind of question, because, my intent is for a lot of people, especially outside of, your radius of influence there, to hear about you guys. So you guys can get bookings, start, selling your records online and all that kind of stuff to a much broader audience. But which song from this album would you point to as the calling card?
Old
To
Black
say,
Crow.
so that you could say, hey, if you like this song, you're really gonna love the rest of it.
I think it's Old Black
I
Crow.
agree. I would choose Old Black Crow because it's got the fun guitar riffs, it's got the backup vocals, it's got a vibe. And although our vibe isn't the same on every song, it just leans, like, you can tell there's more there from that song. I feel like
Yeah.
I agree.
that's a really good question.
Yeah, it is. It is. But this is us here. It's Old Black Crow.
Cool. What's the feedback you've been getting so far for those that have heard it and as word gets out?
Most people don't like it and they think we're weird and we've been told to stop.
Well, that was the exact reason why I wanted to talk to you. So
It's-
try to
We
bail
knew it
this
was
out.
coming. We knew it was coming.
It's always really reward. It's always like I'm always taken aback in a good way by reviews and people's comments, and even like family members. My brother called me, just like gave me the greatest review. Now, like to the world, does that mean anything? I'm not really sure. But when you're so close to a project for so long, you're not even sure if it's good anymore.
Yeah, it means
like
everything.
you're just like, is this even? Should we even? Not that we weren't going to release it, but you forget.
What have we done here?
Yeah, and so then you step back from it, and then it's released, and you think, okay, it's released now. And then to get those phone calls, it's just like a totally fresh take on what people are hearing, and some of the things that people share that they're hearing. I haven't heard it for so long that like a trumpet lick that I heard for so many times in a row for months, and you're trying to put it together that you kind of stop hearing it after a while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's someone's favorite part of the song. And that is the most rewarding thing, when someone picks out like a detail and they're just obsessed with it. And that feels really good. The response has been overwhelmingly great. Yeah. And I think we both hope that we can just keep this going and that more people will know about it. And B, it just feels really good because it's a lot of work, and it's enjoyable work, but it's a lot of work.
Well, it's hard not to take it personal one way or another, whether it's a good comment or a bad, because that's your sweat and blood in it. But, from where I sit and from how I've been listening to it, I live up in the Smoky Mountains, so I'm in East Tennessee. All right. And, and I've had this plethora of black bears hanging around the place lately. And I always look out the door before I step out. But right here in the heart of the South, I was struck by how gritty and how bluesy and, salt of the earth the sound was. And when I saw that you guys were up in, Minnesota,
Oh yeah.
Instead of Nashville,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have crossed that bridge, and it's refreshing too, because it's, it just shows the universal appeal of that sound. You guys picked it up, you ran with it. It beckons back down here, and I know you guys are going to get a lot of, pick up a lot of fans down in this area. But the tone, I went back and dug into your other stuff. And in fact, on my personal Facebook page today, before I start plugging your new stuff, the new videos you have, Carol's going to send me another one tomorrow. I put out there today your I Want You that you did on the roadside thing,
Yeah.
And I love that song. I mean, your guitar work on there for both of you. I mean, dear Lord, that Kurt, you sounded like it was a blend of maybe a little Santana, a little, Pete Green type of thing or something. I mean, wow, it was blowing me away.
That's off of an album that I did in, maybe 98, I think.
Wow.
Called Dance. And that was a really good record. And for me, when I look back at stuff and look forward, when you ask the question about how it's received, I really honestly don't. I want everybody to like it because we want to have success so we can do another one and keep going. And, that's what we do. But I'm not really hurt if someone doesn't like it. But I want to have the opportunity for them to not like it. So in other words, so much of what I've done has been here in Minnesota, and it's a tree falling in the woods and no one knows about it. And I've done some good records over the years that people don't know about. And so it's nice to have the opportunity for people to hear it, and they can decide whether they like it or not. And if they get the opportunity and they don't like it, that's okay, because we're coming back with another one, and you may not like that one too.
Everybody will hate it. Nobody will listen to it, right?
But we're not going away.
I was struck by how you both kind of, it's kind of a Richards Woods type of thing with the weaving of the guitar work and all that. I was, first of all, I love the song. I love how you guys played it. And I've listened to that one several times. Carol will kill me for not talking about the new albums right now, but I love your old work too. So
Thank
this
you.
album here is phenomenal. Now I heard, Kurt, from a very reliable source that you have quite the vintage guitar collection.
I've got a few. I'm not. I mean, I unfortunately I don't have the dough to have the collection that I would love to have, but I've gotten lucky over the years and scored a couple good ones. Yeah,
We have a big guitar collection, but you
Yeah.
have a nugget of little. Of,
I got some
of
good ones. Yeah,
vintage.
Yeah.
What's your favorite vintage one you have?
my favorite vintage one is my really close friend who I played with in bands for years gave me a 1963 Gibson Firebird with the reverse headstock, and that's it's like the Johnny Winters guitar. Stephen Stills played one a lot. I'm a huge Stephen Stills fan, by the way. One of my biggest guitar influences. And that guitar is really special. I've got a 67 Gretsch that I picked up at a flea market. That's a really great hollow body I use quite a bit.
And actually, when we first met, I had the exact. I also had one. I had the exact same one, which we were like, "What? How do we have the same guitar, same colors, same everything, same year?" We played one show where we both played them. We're like, "This is way too dorky. I gotta get rid of mine. I gotta do something different."
Were you wearing the same matching clothes and everything too? You were Twinkies, right? So
yeah, it's fun though. It's really I love vintage guitars for a whole bunch of reasons. But really the sound, the pickups have mellowed. They sound different than new guitars do. They just do.
What about the old Airline?
Oh yeah, I've got a what is that? A '59 Airline Town and Country, and that thing's just like the growliest, nastiest sounding guitar you've ever heard.
I always imagine you're like starting up like an old Peterbilt truck or
really
something.
Like that.
It's just like, something really good is going to happen.
It plays
when
like
he grabs that
too.
guitar.
You're not going to be able to play anything really flashy or fast on it, but it's all about the tone with that guitar.
Right. What do you think the holy grail of guitars are?
Oh boy, for electric guitars?
Yeah.
Well, I sure used the Telecaster a lot on this album. I think you'd be surprised how many of the tones that are really those beefy sounds on there are a Telecaster. I'm a Strat Tele guy. Those are my favorite guitars. So, the Strat kind of does everything, and the Tele does it too a little simpler. So, I don't know that Leo Fender got it right with those two guitars.
I will say, as a person who is around Kurt all the time when he's playing guitar, like Kurt is an amazing soloist. Like he can do acoustic solos. Like there's very few people that I've seen in my life be able to play an acoustic guitar the way Kurt plays.
Thank you.
Acoustic. But when he plays electric guitar, like his magic moments when he has his Strat that he's had for a long time. When he grabs that guitar off the stand, the whole band is like, okay, we're going somewhere. He's going to take a solo. And the fun thing about our band is, we play essentially all of our original songs each night that we play, but it's not always going to be the same way, because when Kurt goes off on a tangent, you just have to follow. You just better be there with him. And it's really fun. It's the first band I've ever been in that does that. And it made me grow really fast as a musician, because it was like, oh my God. First of all, you want to keep up. You want to be able to do that. But secondly, to have the ability to do that and go down this rabbit hole or follow this solo, you have no idea where it's going to end. It could end up in a completely different song sometimes. It's crazy, but he grabs his Strat and that's going to happen. I'll just say that.
I'll take it. I think to do those kind of jams like that, it's really, the band's just got to listen. Everybody's got to be listening to everything. And I'm listening to people too. Our bass player might play something and I'll cue off of that. The drummer does a fill, I'm on that. So it's really about listening. That's really fun. That's when the music gets interesting.
Well, I'm not a musician, but I have a heck of an air guitar collection that would beat anybody's, but I love talking to musicians and reading about how they feed off of each other. And it's such a, I feel like I'm just like this outsider getting a peek in and learning a little bit, because to me, it's a different world. It's a different dimension altogether. that it takes for people like you to be able, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There's an intense amount of listening that has to take place in order for that to work and for the crowd to like it. And I think sadly, most crowds don't fully appreciate what goes into making something like that happen.
It doesn't really matter. You know, and some people might come to hear the song and they want to hear the lyrics. And when a jam happens, personally, I'm focused in on the band and like one person. I'll find that one person in the audience who's right there with me and we're going together. I don't know if it's going to be a younger kid, if it's going to be an older guy, whatever, whoever it's going to be, I'm going there with them. And I really channel in with that person. Like there's a good connection for a moment. And I'm not even sure if the person on the other end knows that this is going on, but the band, whoever the person is and myself, we're having a moment. And that's kind of magic to me. You walk away from that really jazzed up, really buzzed. I mean, it's a great feeling when it works. It doesn't always work.
When it does work, sometimes though, as well, if I get what you mean, you're playing to that one, you have that one person that you're like, oh, well, it's worth it for this, you know, this moment. But sometimes that one person following and being so into it can spawn this like domino effect. All of a sudden you do have this whole pocket of people who are there with you and they're hooping and hollering, and all of a sudden the solo is done and they are like cheering. They're losing, the song's not done, but they're like, they want you to know that they just had that experience. And when those moments happen, like there is nothing better.
You can feel it. It's cool. And you know, sometimes if I play a longer guitar solo, it's really just because I'm waiting to finally play something good. Sometimes it's just there's nothing good happens. So just keep on going, and okay, it's just not going to happen in this one. So you move on.
When you have the whole band, I mean, I always look at the business side of things. Is it? Do you find it difficult to be able to find enough venues that can afford to bring it on? Yeah,
that's the most challenging aspect of what we do right now.
It's really hard, and it's harder than it's been in years past. I think, I don't know, is live music less popular? I'm not really sure, but there's so much out there right now, as you know, and what you can get on your TV at home and your cell phone. And I think for the general public, maybe it's not as magic as it once was. But for the music lovers, it's as magic as it's ever been, and maybe more because it's more special now.
Did you sense that before the pandemic happened, or did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's been going back like 10 years, you could kind of feel that shift happening.
Yeah.
And also it's a little better now, but I think it took a while for venues to catch up on the trend of people want to be home earlier. So if you're playing a show till what seems very regular to any musician or music lover, if you're playing from your spots 11 to midnight or midnight to 1 or whatever, which is like so common years ago. I mean, people want to be home by that time. People want to be home by like 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. So you had all these venues who were sticking to that late model, and things have changed a little bit. And I think a lot of places are pushing their times up to an earlier slot. And I think that helps. But yeah, to find a place for an 8-piece band, that's a paid show.
We can pull it off that way.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
The paradigm has definitely shifted. So, you just
I hope at some
out.
point that we aren't having this conversation, that it's not as hard. Like, there is a certain point in the music industry, it's like where you break the barrier and all of a sudden it's not as hard because people are more prone to go to that festival or go to that venue, or you have this following where it's not just such a local tight following where you're really pulling your resources to get people out. Yeah. We hope that this album can help us break that barrier. We would love to be in that position because we want to be playing with the full band all the time. I mean, that's what we want to do.
Definitely.
I know here locally, I'm in the Knoxville area or outside of Knoxville, and for the places I like to go to catch local bands, unfortunately, they still don't have them starting until like 9:30, and
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I
It's,
you know I have to go to bed early so I can get up and watch cartoons the next day. But
That's right. Well, and I mean, realistically, the demographic of people who like to go out for live music is older. I mean, I wish it was kids, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to change, but you're right. I mean, it's the older demographic. And as a consumer of music, not a maker of it, I for one have a greater appreciation for live music, local or national, now that the pandemic is lifted, and I don't get to make the local bands as much as I'd like, but boy, when I get to, I'm thrilled because even if it's just a cover band, I don't care.
It's interesting that you bring this up, because I think Kurt and I both felt, and so many musician friends we've talked to, even it's like when people were advised to stay home, or when venues couldn't have bands play, and all these things are happening, there was like this cultural thing where it was like, oh, what? Well, we want to go out and see music. It's like, well, you weren't going out before. You weren't coming. And it's
Right.
interesting.
So
like, I didn't want to live through a pandemic, and there's a lot of complicated things that go with it. But I will say that I think for artistry as a whole, no matter what form of art you're in, people kind of had this all of a sudden epiphany that, oh wait, art is important. Oh wait, this adds to my life.
Socializing is important.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I feel like our live streams, and when we were doing that during the pandemic, went really well. We had great response. And I think part of that was people could be on this forum with us and everyone's talking back and forth. And although you couldn't be together, you were socializing, you were and experiencing music. And then that first summer we could do things were exciting.
Everybody
There
was
a
really
lot of
happy.
people coming out,
Yeah.
and just like this, the need, like people shared a lot, how all of a sudden people were sharing how much they appreciate us, or saying things. Oh, I should have said this a long time ago, but gosh, that song you wrote it's really my favorite song, and I share it with my, all these things that people weren't saying. All of a sudden people are sharing these things with you, and it was really neat to see that. And I hope that we don't lose sight of that again, because
I hope we don't forget that, because it's important. I know the first big show I went to as things were lifting. I live 4 hours from Nashville, and I love going to Nashville every chance I get. But the first big show I went to was Eric Clapton, and Jimmy been looking for him. Yeah. A month or so before, I'd interviewed Nathan East, and Clapton's.
Oh, he's amazing.
He is. He's phenomenal, and Jimmy's phenomenal. I've talked to him several times. But Nashville tends to be a lot more. Politically, they're more liberal. Out where I'm at, it's a little more, freewheeling and fly by the seat of your pants type of thing. And so we weren't as buttoned up on. I mean, did we wear masks on that? Of course we did, but going to Nashville, you expect it to be a lot more intense. But when I went there, I was, I had my vaccination card, I had my mask with me, and because I just expected everybody to be masked up and waving their card. And we're outside the Bridgestone getting ready to go in, and nobody's wearing a mask, and everybody's like, and they're all crowded up. There was no social distancing, nothing. I mean, people were ready. They were charging the gates, and they were and 2 weeks later, the Rolling Stones in Nissan Stadium, same thing. And so people are, I think, whether the government has or not, the people have moved on and are ready to live again. And I hope that, like we were just saying a moment ago, that live music is better appreciated for what it is and for what it means to all of us, both, on both sides of the microphone, to keep it, to support it, for venues, in order for venues to support it, clubs or restaurants or whatever, the clientele has to support it. And so hopefully everybody is on that same page,
For the venues, they just simply have to make money, whether it's selling, drinks or butts and seats, ordering food, whatever it is, tickets. But I really think for the music fans and, really the musicians, I will always be a fan of the music that made me be a musician more than I'm a musician. I mean, I see the magic in music. I mean, when I listen to, if I even go back and, my first music that made me want to play was the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And when I still hear that music, when I hear Hard Day's Night, it's still like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know how I know how they put this all together. I know how it works now. I know what the guitar parts are and whatever. It doesn't matter. When I hear it, it's still magic to me.
Yeah.
And that connection and that thing is so crucial because we have so little of that in our world now. I mean, everything moves so fast. We don't really slow down to do anything. And music's that one moment that you do that, and listening is really important.
Agreed. Completely agree with you. So what's on your radar for the next year? What do you guys got planned?
So we want to push this album as far as we can. I mean, we've got a great team of people behind us right now, really trying to help us do that. And it's for us being where we are in just like a local setting, it's really just like grassroots push. That's like, come, I mean, there's a lot of effort by everyone. And we're with a label, Paramore Records, and they're starting out and they've been so good to us.
Yeah.
It's already shifted our career, which is just, we're beyond grateful. But we have PR people and radio people. And so with this album, we're just going to push it. Meanwhile, pre-production for the next album starts.
I'm ready to record. I'm ready to start on the next album.
And so
that's where I'm focused.
We want to have another album, which Kurt and I have so many songs to choose from between the both of us and what we've written together that it's just simply, and it takes time no matter what, but it's just a matter of having the studio time, being there. The songs are all there. We have a general idea of what the next grouping will be already.
We haven't written the best song for the album, though.
Yeah, that always happens while you're in the process. But yeah, we just want to make another great album. Talking about shows, we want to be, Kurt and I perform a lot with the duo act. But if it could shift and we were doing more with the full band this year, that would be a big goal and a big breakthrough for us.
Want to come down and see you?
We're going to come see you.
Want to come play near you? I mean, that's
I
that's
hope
the
I
goal,
get a
is to
front
get
row
out
seat.
Tour.
Yeah.
We really want to tour more. So we're just hopeful that we can put all that together, and we think that we can do it. So
yeah,
more music.
We have I was just talking to my dad on the phone this morning. I said, gosh, I just feel a little panicked about time. Like this is the biggest release we've had so far. And quite frankly, like, I didn't think that there'd just be no work to do because there's always work to do. But now I feel more than ever that there's like a mountain and I just can't like get everything done that I want to get done because we want to just keep the music coming for the fans so that we can reach and grow a real fan base that can help our careers and get us out there the way we want to be out there.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan. I'll be a fan forever now.
Bless you.
So, I appreciate the time you've taken. I love your music. I'm following you guys on all your sites now.
All right.
Thank you.
And all that as Boomerocity. And so, I'm keeping an eye on it. You've got a great publicist in Carol. I love her to death. She's a great woman to work with. You made an excellent choice there. And so I'll watch your itinerary. And when you get down within, good, easy, I'll go 2 hours to go see you, 3 hours if necessary. And I want to see you guys. I want to see you perform. And
great.
There's great little venues here if you're doing just a duet thing or if you're bringing the whole band. It might be a little more challenging, but there's some great venues around here to book up at. And I got a promoter or two I can put you in contact. If you're going to start making it down this way, just give me a shout and I'll put you in contact with them and see if they can help you out.
We'll take you to the Waffle House after the gig again.
There you go. Well, the W fell off and they call it the Awful House now. So. but I'll eat there with you. You know,
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, we have no shame.
No.
We'll do it.
I'm a cheap
They
date.
don't have Waffle Houses up here, so
Yeah, whenever we're south, we always hit one up. It's just like a
at
you
least
have
once.
to.
at
You have
least
to.
once.
Well, and when you go out west, you have to go to In-N-Out Burger. Those are
Yeah,
like the
Absolutely,
best.
always
Or in
that.
Texas, it's Whataburger. You know, you got
Yeah.
to have a Whataburger. So,
Here in Minnesota, we have White Castles.
oh yeah. Well, we have Crystal. That's the kissing cousin
Crystal.
to it. So,
It's very close. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm very familiar with White Castle. I love them.
Yeah.
They're, you know, you got to have a good gut bomb every once in a while. You know.
Probably not when we're all in the tour bus together or something.
I can imagine what we could talk about off mic, off camera.
Yeah.
So we'll make that
Yeah.
happen sometime at the Awful House at that. So
Yeah.
Well, I hope we see you in this next year
Yeah.
or connect again like this. Yeah. Keep,
wait,
keep
you
posted.
said
We'll
you were
be-
coming down by noon tomorrow, Kurt.
Yeah, well,
You're
yeah,
pulling my
yeah.
leg.
We're driving.
We're gonna leave right now.
Well, hey, it was great. Let's stay in touch, and I look forward to interviewing you more in the future.
Thanks,
All right.
Terry. Great to
All right,
talk to you.
take care, stay safe,
care.
stay healthy.
Yeah, you too.
Peace and be
Thank
cool.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.